The Rangers dropped a crucial Game 5 at the Garden Thursday night, so let's tap in with Brendan Azoff, host of the Rangers Iced Brew podcast, so we can get the vibes of the city. Brendan, man, happy belated birthday, bro. Just found that out. Too bad the Rangers couldn't tie the series up on your birthday, but thanks for hopping on with us this morning, man.
Thank you for having me, Brendan. I appreciate it.
All right, let's get into this because we saw a game where Chris Kreider not only had a goal, but he had an assist. Mika Zibanejad had 2 assists on the night, but it still felt like Florida dictated the tempo and they got the win. What stood out to you most in Game 5?
Yeah, I honestly thought the Rangers actually played a much better game overall, especially in comparison to Games 3 and 4 down in Florida. But when you look at it, I think the special teams, the lackluster power play that continues to kind of hurt them in this series, especially when Florida's power play has been so good early on. But they killed 3 power plays. You mentioned Kreider scored. He scored a shorthanded goal, but for some reason, they just can't find that mojo that they had in the first 2 series on their power play right now. To me, that's the biggest thing. And then when you look at like a game of inches, right, the 2 goals that Florida scored prior to the Sam Bennett empty net goal were just shots that just barely ticked off Shesterkin's pad and went in on Forsling's goal. And then Lundell's goal was a similar thing, just barely squeaked through the arm. And it's just a game of inches when you are playing a really good team like Florida. And to me, those types of things are going to happen against good teams. So I know they're down 3-2. I know you're going on the road now to try to stave off elimination. But to me, overall, it was a much better game. Just got to clean up a little bit more of the defensive zone miscues.
But real quick, back to that power play. They've been so elite throughout the playoffs, as you said. How do you fix that going into Game 6? Or is that something that's just you got to kind of tip your hat to Florida?
Yeah, I think you definitely got to tip your hat to Florida. That's a very, very good hockey team. I think that people kind of lose that in the fact that they're rooting for the Rangers and there's so many expectations. But the reality is Florida's good. They know what it takes to get to the Cup. They just did it last year. So when you are looking at the power play problems, I think first and foremost you say, okay, Florida's penalty kill is really stepping up. But the other thing is just shots and shot volume. The Rangers really are passing around the perimeter a little bit too much. You want to get more to the inside, especially when you have Chris Kreider there to deflect pucks. And I think zone entries, too, are massive. They really sometimes struggle to get into the zone and set up, especially after the early clears on the power play. And if they can establish the zone, we know how dangerous they could be. So establishing the zone for the Rangers power play has been key all season long, and right now that's sometimes what they're struggling with. If they can clean up those entries into the zone, it's going to be a lot better production coming from the power play unit.
You talk about how good Florida is as a team. Sergei Bobrovsky has been absolutely out of control. I mean, we've seen what Igor Shesterkin has done for the Rangers to not only keep them in games, but to keep them in the series. 34 saves in Game 5. But is Bobrovsky too good for the Rangers? And better yet, why haven't they been able to figure out how to light the lamp up on him on a consistent basis?
Yeah, he's a Vezina winner too, just like Shesterkin. So you got to tip your cap to him. And, you know, I don't think he's too good. I think that he's a very good goaltender, and I don't want to disrespect him in any way, shape, or form. But in terms of him being too good for the Rangers to beat him, I don't think that's the case. I think especially high, this whole postseason, Bobrovsky's weakness has been above the shoulders. If you could elevate the puck, we saw Trocheck do that in Game 4. If you could elevate the puck on him, there's a good chance it's going to go in. But when you look at the Rangers themselves, and I think it has more to do with how the Rangers are playing than how Bobrovsky is, they're very, very perimeter right now. It's been kind of their weakness when they've gotten eliminated by Tampa a couple years back, last year by the New Jersey Devils, and now you're seeing it creep back into their game. They're staying too far outside. They're not getting to the internal areas of the ice. And when the Rangers are staying outside, they become a lot easier to defend, and it's a lot easier on a goaltender to make the saves and see the pucks. If you want to score against a goaltender as good as Sergei Bobrovsky is, you have to get to the middle of the ice. You have to create rebound chances. You have to create a little bit of chaos, get in his eye lines. Right now, Florida is doing that to Shesterkin, and Shesterkin's playing out of his mind and keeping the Rangers in this series, but the Rangers have not done the same thing to Bobrovsky.
So now the pressure's on. It's a must-win Game 6 down in Florida. I got a 2-part question for you. Who has to be the hero in Game 6 for the Rangers? And are there any drastic adjustments that you'd make if you're head coach Peter Laviolette?
Yeah, I think the first part of your question, it's got to be Vincent Trocheck. I know people are going to say you need more from Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, rightfully so. I think that those 3 guys in particular have to step up their game in Game 6. This gave off elimination. But when you look at Vincent Trocheck all postseason long, he's been that driving force on the New York Rangers in terms of the offensive production consistently through 3 rounds. They're 10-1 when Vincent Trocheck records a point. And in 2 games this postseason against the Florida Panthers in this series, he hasn't had a point, and they've lost both of them. So I think when you're looking at who needs to be the hero, it's got to be Vincent Trocheck, because when he scores, the Rangers are a much better team. And Vincent Trocheck is kind of that driving force, 200-foot player. He's the type of guy you can rely on in a crucial win-or-go-home game. And right now, I think that he's the guy for the Rangers offensively. And the second part of your question, when I look at a drastic change, I think to me the one glaring thing, and we talked about this off the top, is the power play. And when I look at how Mika Zibanejad has kind of struggled a little bit, to me, Lafreniere has been a guy, especially in this series, a complete force. Zone entries, which I mentioned are a problem, are kind of his forte. If you could put him on the right side where Panarin currently is, move Panarin to Mika Zibanejad's spot, you now have 2 one-timer options on the power play, 2 guys on their off wing, which can create more looks, more danger chances towards the net. So if I was going to make one drastic change, and the reason I say it's drastic is because they have not tinkered with that top power play unit in years, let alone just this season. So if you're going to make that change now, that's going to take a lot of confidence from the coach. But if I was going to pick one thing, I would move Lafreniere up to the first power play unit and maybe drop Mika Zibanejad down to the second.
All right. Tell the people where they can find you, man. Shout out your platform.
Yes, you can find me on at Rangers Iced Brew on X. I'm at Azoff Brendan. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been awesome, and hopefully the Rangers can find that mojo in Game 6.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.